I, for the longest time, thought that my parents' relationship didn't work out because I did something. I was the root cause of it. For a 6-year-old to carry that weight is a lot. I was running away from not having to deal with mom's loss. I didn't want to grieve, therefore I didn't want to be in the same house that I had lived with her in. As a child, navigating the separation of their parents when nobody was understanding exactly what was going on, plus having to deal with all of those aunties giving you those side eyes and like those judgy looks and people not wanting to talk to you. Suddenly silence is happening when you're entering a group. There were lots of days and lots of moments where I didn't want to live. So I'm proud of having overcome that.
Hi, welcome to Tell Me All. I'm Swati Chopra. Our today's guest is not just someone's sister or someone's daughter. She's someone who's grown up around the limelight but absolutely carved a beautiful space for herself.
LinkedIn is pretty amazing at helping you grow your small business. We cannot make your email response time faster. We can help you sell, market, and hire in one place. We cannot help you find space for your 3 desk drinks. Why do you have 3? And while we can't help you find the perfect volume for your presentation video, LinkedIn can help you find the perfect audience for your business. Grow your small business on LinkedIn. Learn more at linkedin.com/smallbusiness.
Hi Anshula, welcome to the Quint.
Hi, thank you. That was a beautiful introduction.
Yes, because that's exactly what you've done. You've grown up around the limelight. Today, everyone knows Anshula for Anshula Kapoor.
Thank you.
How do you feel about the journey?
Everybody always knew of my existence in some form or the other. But it's more about now, if you know who I am, you perhaps have heard of me for reasons other than my family.
That's what I meant.
Still trying to carve a niche for myself. I don't think I've carved one yet. It's still a work in progress, which I'm absolutely okay with. But it does feel good to get the kind of positive feedback where this journey has been concerned. Simply because I didn't enter creating content with a game plan. I didn't enter creating content with an agenda. I'm not delusioned. I knew that the followers that I amassed until I started putting my personal life out there more than just like wholesome family stuff was because of my last name and the family I belong to. Some part of me just decided that let me just be honest, because what if there is some other girl there who's trying to look for some sort of solidarity on the internet and they don't seem to have found that yet? And that was the entire aim. So that technically that's not really a cohesive agenda to start content creation with. I was in therapy even through lockdown, through COVID. And my therapist would ask me simple questions about my likes and dislikes and I would freeze. I wasn't attuned to myself. I had never given myself priority. I had never sat down to think about what I like doing, what I don't like doing. I was either running on autopilot or I was in survival mode after mom passed away, where I was just trying to make sure that I make it through one day without breaking down. And when you're living in that kind of an environment, you don't really give yourself enough room to mentally understand who you are in your 20s as a 21-year-old. I have always had the worst relationship with my body, whether it comes to not liking what I'm seeing in the mirror or talking down to myself, underestimating myself. Again, that's another space when you're really not focusing on any positives.
I think I've also may not be absolutely the same experiences, but very similar experiences where I feel like I've also always been in survival mode, not knowing who I am, low self-worth, low self-esteem, not being confident enough to really put yourself out there. I've really been there myself, so I really resonate with you. And like you, I also did therapy, and that's what really helped me get well. I'm sure you get a lot of DMs where people say, okay, I resonate with what you're saying.
Yeah, DMs, messages, people are really, really encouraging in that sense. But that's the thing, when you open yourself out to a public platform, you take the good with the brickbats. I don't think anybody exists in the world who is 100% wholly loved by every individual that they've come in contact with. As a people pleaser, it's not possible to have pleased everyone.
That's the most toughest part to be in. If anyone's a people pleaser, which I've also been, it's so difficult to get through life.
Yeah, because you're constantly just on your tiptoes trying to figure out who am I rubbing the wrong way.
And then when you start to draw boundaries and say, okay, I'm not going to be a people pleaser, then all of a sudden the people around you are like, you've changed.
You've changed.
What is happening?
You've become selfish.
Yes.
Oh my God.
You know, I've been there too. We're going to talk so much more about all of this and, you know, your online presence and the changes that you've brought about, not only personally, but also the way you've helped a lot of people resonate with what you talk. I would love to kind of rewind and take you back to who Anshula was growing up.
I have always been an introvert. I always struggled with making close relationships and close friendships. I was never one of those school children who had like a group of school friends. I always had individual relationships with people that I could maybe hold a conversation with. My mom, even at the age of I think 7 or 8, was one of my closest friends. There was a huge side of me that also wanted to just be Bhaiya's chela. I couldn't understand why I couldn't be a tomboy, because I just wanted to spend as much time with him as possible as well. That I started molding all of my other close friend was my cousin Harsh, because we're the same age. So I just started molding most of my likes and dislikes to things that they were doing as boys. Playing with Hot Wheels, playing with G.I. Joes and those like action figures. Getting into wrestling. So Arjun Bhaiya used to wrestle with Harsh and I. Harsh and I would tag team against him. We've broken mom's bed also while he's trying to choke slam us. I was probably the only person, at least in the family at that time, who had this like mass of curls on her head. So I was a overgrown child because I was taller. I was an overweight child. I was a child with curly hair. So as an introvert, when you're just looking at things that are completely setting you apart from people within your family and with people that you're going to school with, I refused to grow my hair. Almost no hair, like a boy cut, as you would, like a tomboyish look. I would wear like shorts and a t-shirt with like some wrestler's face on it most of the times.
Big Arjun influence, clearly.
Big wanting to be like Arjun Bhaiya's favorite person.
So how cute is that though? That's quite cute, I think.
School would essentially be me.
Experience a membership that backs your business journey with American Express Business Platinum. When you pay with membership rewards points for all or part of an eligible flight booked with a qualifying airline through Amex Travel, you can get 35% of those points back, up to 1 million points back per calendar year. American Express Business Platinum. There's nothing like it. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum.
Almost being a loner, trying to figure my way around things. So yeah, I don't think I had too much of self-love for myself even then as a child, because I just wanted to be loved by my cousins. Essentially it was just that, don't leave me alone, just make sure that I'm playing with y'all, whatever we're doing, I'll do whatever you want me to do. Looking back at it, it's a bit sad.
But you know, sometimes some children have this personality, like I want to be a part of this. It's all
right.
It's okay.
Don't make me feel isolated, because I feel like I was going through that during my school days so much that on like vacation days I just wanted to feel included in things. So I was molding myself into likes and dislikes of my cousins or my siblings. So yeah, going from that to this, who's wearing a floral skirt and sitting with you in an interview. It's been a journey, but it started off with this very quiet, underconfident girl. Underconfidence is something I think I've battled since the age of 5 or 6. Perhaps it seeped into my being once my parents separated, and now in hindsight it's much easier to sort of see the pattern. But at that time, nobody was seeing patterns, and it's fine.
You're too young to see that pattern.
You're too young, and every child goes through those phases.
And some people don't see that pattern even way into their adulthood. The fact that you recognize it, worked around the way it works for you the best, I think that's amazing.
Deep into therapy as a 27-year-old when I recognized this.
So I'm going to move away from this a little bit, and I want to know, Anshula, I've of course kind of got the sense of, what growing up in a house felt like. But who had the maximum influence on you growing up?
My mother. My mother. I wouldn't call it influence, because she was never one to want to influence or arm twist you into something.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
That she was believing in, or something that she wanted you to think. But I gave her, those all access passes into so she knew everything that was going on in my mind in terms of every thought that I was thinking. Because she knew me inside and out, it was easy for her to influence if she had to. I think more than influence, it was shaping the way that I was getting out of situations that I was possibly getting stuck in. Even as a child who would overthink to the point of having a mental breakdown. I would either freeze and then go into a shell, and then she would have to bring me out of that shell, or I would just unravel and would not be able to stop crying. So she would always be that calm in the storm to be able to navigate through what I was feeling in a huge way. She was also the person who was giving me tools that would empower me to make better choices, and like not have these feelings of I'm stuck in this emotional rut if I have to navigate things on my own. Whether it was things like bullying, because like when you're bigger bodied you do get bullied. Whether it was things like isolation, because when our parents separated there was a large section of society in the early to mid 90s who didn't understand what this means. I think it's just human nature. When you don't understand something, you want to stay away from it because you don't know how it can influence you. So she was one of those guiding factors and guiding forces who was always making me believe like nothing is wrong with you. I, for the longest time, thought that my parents' relationship didn't work out because I did something. I was the root cause of it.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. For a 6-year-old to carry that weight is a lot. So she was the one who kind of helped me understand that relationships are between two people and they start and end because of things that happened with those two people, and you as a child have no bearing in that. I always say that she was the wings beneath my wings. She was my literal spinal cord. She was my confidence booster, because she was all of that into one. I had no self-confidence, I had no self-esteem, I had none of that. So had I not had her, and I only had a devil sitting on my shoulder, which was my own brain, always pulling me down. So if I didn't have her sitting like the counter to the devil, giving me the positive reinforcement that I needed for my own mental health and for my own sanity, I don't think I would have ever been able to lead a normal life that was not me being an emotional wreck, breaking down constantly.
Yeah, do you need a minute?
No, I'm okay. Do you need a minute?
I need a minute. Yeah, because I also been...
This episode is brought to you by Viore. Mother's Day is all about celebrating the woman who does it all. So give her something as effortless as her love. Viore's ultra soft joggers, lightweight leggings, and everyday layers are made for everything from movement to rest. Pieces she'll reach for again and again. Get 20% off your first order at viore.com/Mother's Day. Exclusions apply. See site for details.
That child who's thought a lot, and I'm a single parent myself today, and I do know, like, I separated when my child was 3, so I know that what he went through, and today he's 9.5. It's slightly different, but I do know growing up as products of homes where you're a single parent product, it's very different.
Also, the person who's going through the divorce or separation as a family unit, there's nothing easy in it, and there never will be.
It can't be. It just can't be.
And it shouldn't be, because it meant that then the family in itself didn't mean anything to you.
I want to know a little bit more about Arjun and you growing up. Now, whenever I meet him for interviews, I'm always telling him, like, he's such a nice guy. He seems like... So, again, like you, I feel like he's really honest and he's all heart.
Thank
and
you.
I also feel like you're also all heart.
That's our mom in us, I think, to a great extent. That's how we try and carry her forward. Yeah. So you wanted to know more about Bhaiya and I growing up?
Yes.
Oh my God, we went through a phase of hating each other to loving each other. It was
like all siblings.
To a great extent in school, I feel like I felt shielded and protected because I had an older sibling in the same school. And I could always put the fear of God and him in anybody else who was really being rude and mean to me, to be like, he will come, like, I will get him. So that used to help as well, but he would not be interested. If I ever told him to come fight a battle for me in school, he would be like, bye, just let it go.
Just let it go. Like Zen mode.
No, like, I'm too lazy. I don't want to come and intervene, just let it go. But yeah, we became a lot more closer as I came into my teenage years. I think that always happens. I moved to America to study in college in New York. I was 17 and a half when I moved. I used to really, really, really miss him when I was in college there. If I ever had a moment of weakness or anything like that in college, he wouldn't care what time it was. I would call him up in the middle of the night, India time, not realizing time difference, and he would always answer. And he would sort of talk me through anything that needed talking through.
You spoke so much about how Arjun was really say a support system, guiding you through a lot of situations in your life. When I asked him in an interview, I said, you seem like such a solid, strong support system for Anshula. He said, no, it's the other way around. It's thanks to Anshula that when she took a backseat, it's because of her I could fly and thrive. it is really thanks to you, he said.
After college, my first job was at Google, but it was in Delhi. And mom had passed away a few months before. Mom passed away in March. I started working in September of the same year in Delhi. And I realized that both of us are not at our best when we are so disconnected. Because at this point, we have only each other to lean on. We are the only two people who are going through similar feelings and emotions, and we are the only two trying to navigate the loss from a child having lost a parent perspective. And we were both in similar places, even in the professional sphere, him more than me, because he had shot for his first film and his first film had released without mom being there in May. I graduated the same week Ishaqzadeh released in New York. So I couldn't be there for the release of his film and he couldn't be there for my graduation. After that, I was working at my first job and he was navigating, is he going to get another film as an actor? What is the career going to look like? What are we doing with our lives in that sense? I worked at Google for about a year. I couldn't make it happen for more than that simply because I needed to be back home in Bombay. I needed to feel centered and I needed him to feel centered. Working out of Google in Mumbai was not a possibility. When he says that I took a backseat, that's what he talks about, that I did give up a career with one of the best companies in the world perhaps at that point, because I didn't feel like it would serve any purpose in being half a human being but thriving professionally when personally you're in the worst state of mind. I needed to see him happy. I needed to see him find the joy in the one thing that he always wanted to do, and he was always just so...
This episode is brought to you by Ferrero. Soccer's biggest stage is approaching, and Ferrero is making it easy to go all in. Pick any two Ferrero brands from Kinder Bueno to Ferrero Rocher, and you could win the $1 million grand prize, plus an exciting range of daily and weekly prizes. Don't miss your shot. Official rules apply. Learn more at goallinandwin.com.
Scared about figuring out if it will work or not work in his favor. I needed him to give him his 100% in that. So I don't see it as taking a back seat at all. I just see it as understanding what both of us needed and trying to cater to that. Also, mom ran the house that we lived in. When there's no mom, we had to rely on Nani to run the house. And how unfair is that your grandmom, who's approaching 60, she's approaching 70, is running not just her life and her work, but she's also trying to run the house that is yours and your brother's at this point. I just felt like I had to own up to a lot more responsibility, and to a great extent, by taking a job that was based in Delhi, I was running away. I was running away from not having to deal with mom's loss. I didn't want to grieve, therefore I didn't want to be in the same house that I had lived with her in. And somewhere within the year of her passing, I figured out that I need to find my balls, so to speak, and get my life in order. And that could have only happened had I first come back home and actually tried to remake the feeling of home in the house that I lived in with her and Bhaiya. So I think I did it more or equally for me than I did it for him. I didn't end up working for a few years after. I'd also ended up putting on a lot of weight after mom died, because grief can make you eat a lot.
Emotional eating is
something I've also struggled with my entire life, but after losing mom, it just became comfort. So I also took that time to understand, what am I doing with my health? What am I doing with my mental health, my physical health? What am I doing with life? Why am I isolating from people? Why am I not wanting to grieve? And it took me, I think, 4 years to get my shit together. That's a long time, but he allowed me those 3 or 4 years of just being. There was never any pressure from him to be like, what do you want to do in life? What is your agenda? What is your aim? Do you want to get married? Why are you not working? He has never once told me that I am a burden on him, even though he was taking care of me financially while he was still in his 20s. So he technically was taking care of me like he would have to take care of a child. It was a lot for him also. So when he says that I took a step back in my life, I don't think it's completely true, because he doesn't realize how much of himself he gave to me, without which I would not have been able to do half of anything that I did at that time.
That sounds like such a solid relationship, one that both feel have had their cups full. It doesn't feel like one poured too much and one was empty.
Absolutely
I think that's
not.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Like we've already established, you have had certain moments in your life that have been extremely challenging, and some that, as you're talking, I feel probably you grew up too quickly to take over responsibilities that maybe you weren't ready for. What does a moment like this in your life teach you about, say, resilience? What you really went through growing up so quickly?
You mentioned that you got a sense of the fact that I grew up maybe earlier than I was meant to, and I took on responsibility earlier than I was meant to. I agree with you on that as well, but I don't have any regrets of being able to do that. Of course, I feel like that's made me into a much more serious person, because for me, I'm always trying to think about 10 other things at the same time, because there are responsibilities in every realm. I do also understand that because of that, I'm much more serious. So just to like take a day off where I can be a child is now something I find to be a privilege. So now that I'm 34, my days off, I literally just want to do what perhaps a child would want to do on summer vacation. Perhaps not get out of bed till 2 p.m, just like take a lazy day and have one of those zone out days where you don't really have to adult. I think I've had those feelings of needing those days since I was 20 versus other people who probably have only started feeling it from their 30s onwards because that's when you're adulting. I don't remember a single moment in my life, even as a child, where I didn't have to be resilient. As a child, navigating the separation of their parents when nobody was understanding exactly what was going on, plus having to deal with all of those aunties giving you those side eyes and like those judgy looks and people not wanting to talk to you. Suddenly silence is happening when you're entering a group. It does make you resilient. It does make you a little bit more thick-skinned. It also makes you a lot more isolated. So I think resilience for me comes with isolation. And I guess that is the only downside of becoming or being resilient.
Yeah.
You also become an island to yourself. You stop wanting to rely on others. You stop counting on anybody else to show up and be there because that's not your lived experience. Sometimes when you have to grow up too early and take on responsibility too early, you stop realizing that you can lean on others. And that's something that I have to relearn now in my 30s. And I have tried to relearn that you can count on people. You don't have to do everything on your own. You're not a one-woman army. There is nothing wrong in asking for help. There is nothing wrong in taking a pause.
I feel like I'm talking to myself.
Like Arjun and I have lived together, lived alone for the longest time. I can't expect somebody else to come and run the house, for example.
Yeah.
I can't expect somebody else to come and sort out an issue that I have to sort out because there's nobody else. Maybe you can relate to this, but when you are a product of a single parent family, you also see your single parent being both parents at some times, right? Yes. You see them being all encompassing and that's the role model you learn from. So I think to a great extent, the role model that I learned from was my mom, who was perhaps battling her own demons and her own battles and maybe having moments in private where she was breaking down. But for me, she was always that superwoman who was capable of doing everything on her own. So for the longest time in my 20s, I used to always fall back upon the fact that I don't want to forget mom, but mom was able to do everything on her own. I think I can do everything on my own as well.
It's a lot to take on.
Yeah, and I didn't realize I was doing it until much later when Arjun Bhai actually pointed it out to be like, she didn't have a choice, she had to do it. You have a choice, you can take a break.
We need people like this in our lives to remind us that it's okay to stop. It's okay to pause.
It's okay to be human. It's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to have a day where you just tell the world that I can't people today.
I have those days most days.
Same.
I just want to take an off for a month and just be like, I can't people ever. You spoke about how when you come from a home, like a single parent home, right? Does that also somewhere along the line change the way you view relationships or the way you view love?
100%. Until mom died, I did not want to have a partner fall in love. None of that, because I just felt like if there isn't something that is absolutely guaranteed to be with me for life, why should I even indulge in it? Because it's just going to end in some sort of heartbreak or turmoil. After mom died, I had a huge void where I just felt like the unconditional kind of love that a parent gives a child, I think the only other person who can give that sort of love is a partner to another partner. I started craving connection and craving love after mom died to a great extent. But even at that point, I wasn't sure if that meant I will ever get married. I just wanted partnership.
Companionship.
Companionship.
Yeah, I absolutely get that.
Once I began my relationship, the relationship I currently am in is my first relationship ever in my life.
Really?
And when you get into your first relationship in your 30s, you're anyway a different person with different perspectives. And
I think better.
It's better because you're older, you know what you want, but you're also very, you know what you want. So you're not going to compromise too much as well in that sense. Yeah. In the first 6 months or maybe a year of my relationship, to a great extent was unfair to my partner because I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out a lot of times.
You were being careful.
very careful.
Protective of yourself.
Protective of myself, but also every time we would have an argument or a fight, I would just assume that this means this is the end. So to learn that skill of that fighting in a relationship is healthy, or like fights can be resolved, took me a while. Also, every time I felt like I was feeling a lot more, I was feeling deeper, it was scary. Because what if he dies? What if he leaves?
Oh, that's a heavy thought.
So he's had to battle that crap with me.
Yeah. But it's real, right?
It's real, but that's what the first year of the relationship was. But I think that just makes it a little bit more of a stronger partnership now.
Yeah.
Because we've had to deal with all of that, and we've come out of all of that as well in a way. Growing up, like as a child, when I would go for like, for example, maths tuitions in a friend's house, and like both the parents would be there, they would eat a meal together, I would be angry about not having that. So then when you finally get to a point where you have that partnership, you're just so scared that you're going to ruin it.
That's because we want to prepare for the worst, because we're just used to life giving us, you know, situations that we don't want or don't want to deal with. I get that.
One of my biggest insecurities in life is losing somebody I love.
Fear of loss, yeah.
And it's fear of loss to death.
I mean, I'm sure, you know, you're doing whatever best you can to
like
kind
I'm still in therapy.
deal with, you know, talking about relationships, you know, can we talk a little bit about, you know, whenever we see like all of you out together, say Janhvi, Khushi, you, Arjun, there's just so much warmth that we see, right? What is that relationship like when it's evolved over the years?
Honestly, like when we reached out to them, it was more like, for me, I can't speak for Bhaiya, I will only speak for me. I was coming from the point of view of what I went through after mom died. I didn't want them to go through that alone, especially because I would know some of the beats that they would go through. They would be common.
Too empathetic.
Maybe but in my own detriment, but no. That was the conversation Bhaiya and I had, where we were both like, we don't want them to navigate this alone, because they were also much younger than we were. When mom died, Bhaiya was 25, I was 21. Like they had to go through the same beats at what, I think 17 and 20, and yeah, like Janu turned 21 in March, which was like a few weeks after. That's young. So we reached out to them to be able to do that support for them from this point of view. And also Bhaiya wanted to be there for dad in every way that he possibly could as a son as well. When we got to know each other from 2018 onwards, it was almost like we started from a blank slate. And I think that was in a way lovely, because it gave us time and space to get to know each other into who we are today, versus having preconceived notions because we have heard about things about each other from family, or we have perceived certain things from what we've noticed in the media. So getting to know them as teenagers, as adults, seeing them navigate life, like they've literally evolved into two extremely individual but strong women, and seeing them like do that literally in front of me, it's been empowering for me to watch them do that. Nice. They have ventured into the world of cinema as actors today, when social media is perhaps at its most volatile and its most boisterous self, where the trolls are louder than the people who are wishing you well, and they've had to navigate that while having to navigate the grief of losing a parent. And I think they've done it beautifully. They have shown me what life skills I perhaps need to work on. So there's a lot of like two-way learning that goes. And I think for them, they always know that come what may, I'm there. Like I'm the older sibling who is there for them regardless. We don't judge each other. The four of us, we hold a safe space for conversation. Credit where credit is due. Now Janu's taken on the mantle of making sure that we are more, we spend more time together.
You've been someone who has, you know, absolutely championed body positivity, right? I want to know from you, what was it that pushed you to kind of voice that on a social media platform? I know we touched upon it in the beginning of the interview, but if you could tell me, what do you remember the absolute instance that you said, okay, you know, this is something I want to talk about?
My biggest insecurity when it comes to my body is one part of my body, which I don't know why on the internet it's called a fupa.
Yeah.
Like it's that, basically it's that apron belly, the hanging apron belly. And regardless of whether I am fat or thinner, that apron belly remains to be an apron belly, and I don't think it'll ever go away unless it's surgically removed, because now it's just excess hanging skin. I could not find creators in India who were talking about that, or who had that and were dressing to not accentuate it in a particular way. Maybe they existed, but I was just unable to locate them. So I started being a little bit more open about things about my body on social media, because I just wanted to. I was also going through this entire aspect of trying to become healthier, Yeah. So it was not about losing weight, but it was about I had medical issues that had to be dealt with.
Yeah.
So while dealing with them, one of the byproducts was that I had to lose weight, otherwise I would not have been able to deal with it. While my body was physically changing, I was not loving it anymore. Like, you know that misconception that fat people have that like if I lose weight, I'll start liking myself in the mirror, so I'll start liking myself more.
Yeah.
I was holding on to that myth. I was like, yeah, 20 kilo kam ho jayenge, 25 ho jayenge, I'll start loving myself, it'll be damn good. And like 20 kilos went, 25 went, 30 went. That love was not coming only. So I was like, okay, this requires separate amount of work to be done to be able to start liking myself, because I've also always been a big-bodied person. So I had to get to a point where tomorrow, if my weight fluctuated again, it didn't impact me in a negative way, because I can't only like myself when I'm looking a certain way in a mirror. I was not able to find that partnership or find that, like, you know, somebody else to relate with online. So I created a space for my own self and my own thoughts. It was very organic. It was not from a point of view of championing a cause of body positivity. I also have to navigate through the fact that I am available for public consumption because I come from the family I do. So I said, now I'll have to deal with that anyway. Why not just marry the two together and do it on a public platform? So at least that way I'm prepared. Nobody outside can tell me something that somebody hasn't commented or DM'd to me anyway. Because it's not just trolling. Sometimes it goes way beyond that. Because not everyone is going to benefit from the content I'm posting, and not everybody wants to see a bigger bodied person coming on their feed anyway.
That sounds awful though.
It does, but I understand it from their perspective. Sometimes they are scrolling mindlessly on social media because they are doing it for entertainment or for titillation or for fun. And their version of it is completely different. So when the algorithm ruins their zen for them by showing them something that doesn't align with their version of beauty, they want to tell you that you are ugly.
Just move on, which is horrible.
I mean, if the world worked like that, it sort of prepared me for the other side of the real world as well. Which is why on my platform, as much as I possibly can, I don't edit. Even something as basic as I could be in a completely high fashion look, I will not remove my stretch marks. Because I need you to know that even if I look perfect, because I have an army of 30 people making me look perfect, I am still me.
You know, Anshula, through this podcast, I've definitely understood more about you than I have just watching your videos on social media.
Thank you.
I've understood that you are somebody who's extremely empathetic and who's probably trying hard to draw boundaries while being an empath, which is very difficult, and I understand that as well. I really want to know, as someone who's lived already at the age of 34, such a full life, such experiences of ups and downs, and has kind of navigated through emotions at a really, really young age, dealt with grief. What's the one thing along your journey that you are really proud of?
I'm proud of not giving up. I'm proud of taking each day as it comes and just going on, because there were lots of days and lots of moments where I didn't want to live. So I'm proud of having overcome that. I'm proud of having overcome that with dignity. And I'm proud of having overcome the ups and downs that, as you said, that life has thrown without actually shutting down completely as an emotional person. I'm also proud of myself for not giving up on human connection and love. I'm also sort of proud of myself for understanding and realizing when I needed help and getting it.
Most important, I think.
I went through a couple years, twice in my life. Once was after mom passed away, when I was told to start therapy. Like the first few therapy sessions I did, I was doing it just because I was told to do it. I wasn't really doing it to help myself, and that was counterintuitive. Yeah. It took me almost a year after mom died to realize that I need to do the therapy for myself and find a therapist that works for me. I think I'm extremely proud of these few accomplishments.
Thank you so much for talking to me, Anshula. This conversation was by far one of the most, I think, high on emotion conversation, which also a lot of times like you, sometimes like, oh, 1 second. But thank you so much for being so honest. Thank you so much for really putting yourself out there as you are, without filters.
Thank you.